Hello and welcome. This is View from the Top. I'm Modele Sharafa Yusuf, and I thank you for joining us. For many years, Comrade Sheu Sani was a leading figure in the struggle for the restoration of democracy in Nigeria. He was arrested and jailed by successive military regimes and was released from life imprisonment only when democracy was restored in Nigeria in 1999. Lately, he has been praised and vilified in equal measures for his role, along with former President Obasanjo, in trying to arrange a dialogue between the federal government and the insurgent group Boko Haram. Comrade Sheu Sani joins me today on the program, and I want to thank him very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
But before our conversation, here's a brief biography. Shehu Sani was born in Kaduna in 1967. He attended Kaduna Polytechnic and the University of London for his higher education, where he earned degrees in engineering and law. A prolific author and playwright, he is a President Civil Rights Congress and has served on several presidential committees, including those on prison reforms, petroleum products prices, and control of violent crimes and illegal weapons. He's also a board member of the Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, NITI. You recently met in Abeokuta with former President Obasanjo with a view to reopening dialogue with Boko Haram. Can you give us an update on this initiative?
The initiative was simply a private effort to break the jinx and see whether the model that has been used in other countries to free hostages could be applied in this situation. It is very clear that these girls are not just captives, but they exist as human shields, as hostages in the hands of these insurgents. Now, the option of the use of force could prove very dangerous in the very sense that any attempt to reach at the girls, the insurgents will certainly harm them. And as such, we thought of many things, one of which is why not reach out to the insurgents and propose this idea to the government and see the possibility of how this could work. Even though the initiative that took us to Abeokuta was somehow leaked to the media, which, in fact, Baba was not happy about.
We were told you leaked it to the media.
No, I couldn't have leaked such things to the media. But the very time to which I was called, and that there was a meeting in Abeokuta, I know it has already, the cat has been let out of the bag, and now I have to explain what it was all about. And since the meeting was not between two people, it was with others, I believe that somehow it was leaked, but not all bad. All that it was simply about making an effort to see the girls being released by their captives.
President Obasanjo has said that the initiative cannot take off without the consent of the government, quite rightly. Have you now gotten government consent to speak with Boko Haram for the girls to release?
Well, when the idea was before the former president, he made it very clear that the involvement of government is indispensable. Indispensable in the sense that there are a lot of issues for which you need not just the consent of the government, but the commitment of the government. We can see that there are two parties here, the insurgents and the government. And if you are talking of a swap, you must talk to both sides. And again, we already have a constituted authority. We have in place a law, anti-terrorism law, that outlaws anyone communicating, interacting, or reaching out to the insurgents. That is criminalized. Now, to reach out to the insurgents, you need a waiver from the government. They need to know what you are doing and why you are there. That is one. And secondly, with the state of emergency going on placed in those three states where this insurgency is taking place, you cannot also reach out to the insurgents without the government knowing about it, because you will get into trouble as such. And for someone of his own standing, I believe that if he needs to intervene, just like the way we did in 2011, he got the consent of the government. So for now, we have not gotten any consent from the government, and I believe that if he has gotten that consent, he will have communicated to us. And I think it's not just about consent, but also commitment. The government can say, go ahead. But if we go ahead, are you prepared to take or consider some of the resolutions of such kind of exercise? That is another thing.
We'll be talking about that 2011 initiative in a bit. But we heard that recently there was a secret deal to get the Chibok girls freed, which was bungled. The deal was said to have been brokered by someone well known to you, Ahmed Salkida. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, I think Salkida is in the best position to speak for himself. And I hope he will someday come over and do it, so that we will not be speaking for him. But I knew there was an effort and there was an intervention, and somehow at the end of the day it was bungled. So, but the details of it, I believe, is only Salkida that will be able to make it clear, because I have spoken about it the other time, which he said at his own time he is going to speak to the media. He is in a very difficult situation, which I believe that some of these things which he has gotten himself into, is better he speaks out to the media himself.
Some of the things he's gotten himself into, like what?
Reaching out to both sides. It's a very difficult and tedious engagement, in the sense that you are dealing with a government on one side, and you are also dealing with a group that is not a political party or an NGO, a very group that is well armed and that is in pursuit of its cause through violence, and of which anyone who reaches out to them can also be a victim. But my own personal experience when it comes to the issue of working out things like this was simply the first attempt, which in 2011 I took former President Obasanjo to meet the families in Maiduguri in their mosques. And then the second attempt, which Dr. Deti Ahmed led and represented the insurgent group. And all right, but I know the first one, we took to the government proposals and suggestions and advices on how this insurgency could be tackled.
Do you know if that offer is still on the table?
I think many things have changed, and things are still changing, in the sense that, but what has not changed is that the leadership of the group has remained intact, and the use of violence in pursuit of their own theocratic agenda is also what is still there. But what I know is that they are desirous of a country that is run under an Islamic law. And in the pursuit of that, they pick up arms like the Taliban and other groups in the Middle East. But in the period which we were able to relate, we have made it clear that this is an impossible exercise for a multi-religious, multicultural country like ours to dream of such a theocracy. I believe is an illusion.
I have heard you say that it was not Boko Haram that killed Baba Fugo, the patriarch of the Boko Haram leader's family, after your visit and President Obasanjo's visit to him. Sounds to me like you have a conspiracy theory there. What do you think happened?
Fugu was a man of peace who was part of the contacts we made in 2011 to work out the possibility of talking to the insurgents. Fugu was killed a day after we left. And from my own, then I heard that it was the Boko Haram that killed him.
That's what's generally believed.
Yes. And I was able to make some contacts. How could they have killed somebody who sought the consent for the meeting which we had? How was that possible? Because he told us, he, not only him, but others told us that before they meet with us, they have to seek clearance from their leadership. Then immediately after, the government blamed the Boko Haram for killing Fugu. Now the same Boko Haram came out, denied killing Fugu, and were also blaming the government. Now, you look at this, if they were actually the ones that killed him, after all, they have been killing as many people as possible as they can. Why were they denying that to Fugu? And also, they have killed, some of them have killed their mothers, their fathers, their brothers. They have also killed other innocent persons, and they even took pride in saying we did it. Why did they say they have not, and they were not, and they were pointing fingers? If
so
you
who
Google
were
the
they
statement,
pointing fingers?
they were pointing fingers as security agents, that they were the ones who killed Fugu. And the insurgents were saying it was security agents, and the government was saying it was the...
What do you think?
To me, I think it's only God that knows what happened.
We must take a break there. We will ask you to please join us again in a bit.